What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Face First video. Today we are going to be doing an NFL mock draft.
Hell yeah, we are. Man, we got the top 15 picks lined up for you guys. My man Edo here is going to give you our criteria for this mock draft.
Yeah, so there's the usual criteria where it's like, first, you evaluate the team's biggest needs. Second, you go about those needs and take the best player on the board, of course.
Also, keep in mind, this is just our opinions. This isn't a factual kind of thing, mock draft. It's opinion. And another thing to keep in mind, we didn't factor in any teams making trades on draft day. This is this is where they're slated and who we think they should take there.
Yeah, because we all know it's too hard to predict trades. I don't know why people bother doing that for mocks,
Let's kick it off with number 15.
Number 15. So this one was kind of hard. I mean, because Philly has the number 16 pick as well. So I was like, I guess it doesn't matter whether it's wide receiver or the guy I got going, who is Jermaine Johnson the second. The Eagles have a great interior pass rush. The edge has kind of failed them with Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat. Jermaine Johnson, I mean, his talent and ceiling is up there with just any other edge rusher in this class. He had 12 sacks in his last year.
ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and this guy, he had a great combine as well, great prospect grade. So I'm like, do I want Philly to take a wide receiver there? Nah, they can take Jermaine Johnson and get like a Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson at 6.
Yeah, and Jermaine Johnson's huge hype to me, honestly. He first bursted on the scene in our eyes on Last Chance U. From there, he was able to go to Georgia, and then he transferred to Florida State for more playing time, and he made the most of it.
Yeah, imagine if he stuck around on that Georgia defense with Trayvon Walker. That probably would have boosted his stock even more. But yeah, this guy, he's got to be a day one pick. I mean, first round for sure. We'll just see if it's top 20 or top 15,
Yeah, I think he's almost pro ready. He just needs to work. He needs to fine tune those little skills. He rushes with great force, but he needs to work on his finesse game.
A big power guy. Doesn't have like the feet of like a Vic Beasley type edge rusher, Von Miller in his prime, but I mean, that's something you get coached up in the NFL,
Facts. And at 6'5", 254 pounds, that's a beast to lock down the edge for you.
So now we're going to move on to number 14. We are going to go with guard Zion Johnson. Now, Baltimore has to shore up the interior of that offensive line. They haven't had a great interior presence since Marshall Yanda was there. You could say they would go with Tyler Linbaugh, the center from Iowa, who's projecting to be like an immediate great run blocking center. But I like Zion Johnson's versatility here. Reminds me a lot of Larry Warford, so he could probably play center or guard.
Funny enough, when I was doing my research on these guys, that was NFL.com's comparison.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
Fuck
So
yeah,
shout out to you for that one.
Yeah, because I mean, we saw Larry Warford on the Saints. He was like kind of moving around like right tackle, center, guard. He was just being used everywhere. Yeah. And that's what I think they can do with Zion Johnson.
Yeah, the boy is 6'3", and he did the bench rep at the combine 32 times. So that tells you he is a beast on the interior.
Yeah, the only thing that was the kind of affected him at the combine was the 40, but it's like, I mean, we don't care if our guards run less than, like a 5.
Yeah. Who cares about a guard's 40? Let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, it could come into play with pulling.
Right, and going downfield. But I mean, he was still showcased that he's a freak athlete at the combine, Baltimore, they really couldn't get the run game going like they did in years before. This guy's an immediate plug and play, and your run game is going to be better. Facts.
And hopefully this year, knock on wood, they have some health at the running back position.
Yeah, I really want to see J.K. Dobbins healthy for once.
Facts.
On him when he got drafted, and it's kind of disappointing.
Hopefully 2022 will be a bounce back year for that Ravens running back room.
All right, so now we're moving on to the number 13 pick. Houston is here with their second first round pick, and this is a guy who's been sliding up and down the boards, but I'm gonna go with Devin Lloyd here. We were just talking about versatility with the Baltimore pick. Devin Lloyd is as versatile as you can get. We're talking about a guy who is 6'3", 240, can play as an outside linebacker in a 4-3 defense, similar to Leighton Vander Esch. He can play in the middle linebacker, or he can just, stand up on the edge and rush the passer, which he's probably going to do a lot. Combine was explosive, ran in the 4.6s, bench 25, has a 35-inch vertical. But what impresses me most is the tape with this guy. 110 tackles last season. 8 sacks. He took his 2 picks, for pick sixes.
To the house.
91 tackles, 6.5 sacks. So I'm like, I don't really care about his combine. It just confirms the tape to me.
Yeah, the man's a 2-time Butkus Award finalist, so you know he's a monster.
Yeah, he was All-American and Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year as well. And Houston, more importantly, just they need speed and range in that front seven, I believe. And we'll get to it later. Complemented with the other defensive pick I got them taking. This is going to be a beastie defense, and then they can just work on retooling their offense next year.
True, and they kind of are already like planning that with the re-signing of Brandon Cooks.
Oh yeah, I was big on that. There it looks like they're going forward. Davis Mills, Brandon Cooks. Let's just work on this O-line a little and get this defense going, and then this team will be good to go.
Devin Lloyd is going to be a great centerpiece for that defense because, like you said, he can pretty much play anywhere at linebacker. The one thing, in my opinion, he needs to work on, he needs to get a little better on his coverages and learning the zone blocking schemes that he's going to see in the NFL because he had a little bit of trouble with that in college.
Yeah, definitely. And this would be, if he were to fall to like 21, this would be a total Bill Belichick pick because they're like, all right, we can coach you up on that stuff. We just need this talent.
Yeah, if he falls outside of the top 15, he'll be a steal, in my opinion.
Big facts. I agree with that. All righty, let's move on to number 12. At number 12, I got Minnesota Vikings taking Charles Cross here. I think he's been projected to go here in a few mocks, so I'm going to stick with it. I think it's a great pick for them. They've been trying to draft at the offensive line for a couple years now. Nobody's really worked outside of Brian O'Neill at right tackle. I think Charles Cross, immediate great pass blocker at the left tackle position. Just plug and play him and you'll be good. Could be better as a run blocker, but we know Dalvin Cook, if he runs, is usually on the inside or they bounce him outright.
True. That's just a big old safety blanket for Kirk. From my research, he might have some trouble with the really like speed rushers of the NFL. But he should be fine against the power guys because he is 6'5", 300 pounds, and he has excellent hand placement technique. I think he's going to have a lot of pancakes when people try to just bull rush him next year.
He's been really climbing up because like when the first mock drafts were coming out, they had him going in like the late teens, early 20s, and he must be doing something right in these interviews for these guys who have the inside sources to be like, all right, we're going to start moving him up, getting him close to the top 10 here.
Yeah, it's easy to underestimate a guy until you see him until you see all 6'5", 307 pounds of him in your office. Then you realize what he's about.
Yeah, the guy is an absolute fucking mad lad.
Number 11.
Yeah, my notes for some reason aren't just loaded. All right, here we go.
All right, here, I'll intro number 11.
All right.
At number 11, we have Drake London, wideout from USC. This man's a two-sport athlete. I don't know if you knew that.
I actually didn't.
He suited up for UFC during the COVID year. I think he played like 3 games and then he got sick. So he missed a bunch too, but he was a California AAU legend. And that athletic ability is what makes him such a good receiver because he doesn't have, the blistering speed you'd like. He's a great possession guy. He has the athletic ability to turn a 50-50 ball into a 70-30 ball.
Yeah, you know who he really reminds me of? Guy we were talking about on the last episode of the podcast, Devontae Parker, because
Facts.
at 6'4", 220, like you said, he doesn't have blistering speed, but he still ran in the 4.5. You could argue, of course, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave for who should be the number 1 wide receiver taken in this draft. For now, I think Drake London should be considered wide receiver 1, and he would fit really well going across from Terry McLaurin there in Washington with walking to him Wentz at quarterback now.
Ooh, that would be a good one too.
It would be a great one too because you got the speedster McLaurin, to go get your deep balls, but you can also Drake London. He's also a deep ball threat on the contested catches, but he can just go over the middle. Even if there's not a lot of separation, you can just throw it to him. He's a safety blanket. And yeah, like you said earlier, he only played like 3 games in his sophomore year. He did blow up in his final year. He had over 1,000 receiving yards and like 7 touchdowns in only 8 games. So that just tells you how explosive of a receiver he is. And he did that at USC without, one of the bona fide top 5 quarterbacks in college football. So you got to pay him that respect. Very elite wide receiver, immediate impact guy, in my opinion here. Let's move on to the top 10, the meat and potatoes of the mock draft here. Starting off at number 10, we got the Jets, and I got them taking Sauce Gardner here. Secondary is probably the biggest need for them, I would say. It's hard between secondary and pass rush, but if Sauce Gardner were to fall here at 10, there's a lot of debate on he's going to go earlier. He's clearly number one corner, but he's long, 6'3". There was weight issues, but he's got his weight up. He's at around 190 now. Runs really fast, great in man coverage.
4-4 guy right there.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Patrick Peterson. He's probably not going to be the greatest zone guy right away, but when you got a corner in the draft that you can take and be like, all right, take the other guy's number one receiver in man coverage, and nobody can really get away from him, I think that's worth taking right there.
He really shows signs that I wouldn't make him a CB1, you know, his rookie year. You could,
Right.
but it'd be throwing him to the wolves. I think in like his sophomore year, he's going to be an excellent CB1 because he's real physical off the release. He's got a great press. And he's just fast.
Yeah, like you mentioned, an absolute elite press corner. He only allowed 6.6 yards per reception last year. His first year, CB1, he probably is going to have a lot of penalties, probably going to, you know, bite on some routes and get burned like Trayvon Diggs was.
That's something that plagued him in college. He got a lot of holding and pass interference calls.
Yeah, his hand, he tends to stick a little bit with those hands because he's so long, so he usually just, you know, kind of hold, and they're going to call that more in the NFL.
Yeah.
But he's just too elite of a talent to pass up, and you can argue between him and Derek Stingley. When I made this mock, I was like, okay, I think Derek Stingley is CB1. I slowly am starting to think Sauce Gardner is.
He's got the confidence.
Yeah.
Cornerback is a position where delusional confidence is your best friend.
It really is, because you can get burned and be like, oh, I already, like Jalen Ramsey, for example. You can be like, okay, I got lit up on this play. It's not going to fucking happen again.
Yeah, like there's no corner who's shutting down literally everything.
Right.
You got to have that PJ Tucker mindset. Like, okay, you made it, do it again.
Exactly.
Okay, you caught it, do it again.
And he's very highly touted. I think he is like one of the top 10 or like 12 graded prospects overall. And his next gen stats grade, he graded at 93, which is absolutely absurd for a guy in the secondary. He's gonna be a great player.
Yeah, if the Jets do take him at 10, they're getting a great corner. Dare I say, trying to recreate a 2022 Revis Island vibe.
You know, it's funny you mentioned. Let's use that as a transition to get into number 9 here right away, because you're talking about Revis or Sauce Gardner, which is a good comp. And at number 9, I got the Seahawks taking the other corner, Derek Stingley, because I think he's basically Richard Sherman, honestly.
That's who NFL.com compared him to.
Yeah, his size, I mean, he's like 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds. He's freaking huge. He runs fast. Not as good of a man coverage guy as Ahmad Gardner. Had some injury concerns as well. But I mean, before this last year, he was considered easily, you know, cornerback 1. He still has like a grade of like 90. He reminds me a lot of like, you know, I already compared him to Sherman, also Stephon Gilmore as well.
Gilly Lock.
Yeah, elite speed and ball skill. I mean, he gives him a chance to thrive as a bump and run corner, capable of shadowing anybody really on the field, honestly.
Yeah, he's well suited for a variety of zone coverage, but needs to play with much better zeal and toughness in the run support.
Yeah, I guess that would probably be his only weakness, right? Because we were talking about Sauce Gardner, the zone coverage is his weakness. Derek Stingley, I don't really see any weakness coverage-wise. He can play in any scheme, any defense. It's just, do you want to get down and dirty and like tackle somebody, you know, tackle a 220-pound back coming full speed at you?
Yeah, and going back on his weight, a lot of the blogs and stuff I was reading about him said he should put on about 25 more and try to play pro at around 215.
Oh, that would be insane.
That would make him a specimen.
Especially if he can keep that elite speed that he has at that weight. I mean, at that point, it'd be like a keep to leave and be like, you know what? If we're facing like a Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski type of guy, you can go on the tight end as well. All right, at number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. I got them taking Kenny Pickett. Now, they are a huge candidate to probably move down to the draft, maybe grab a receiver, because they do have Marcus Mariota now starting with for them. Keep in mind, we made this mock like 2 weeks ago, but I still like them taking Kenny Pickett here. I think Mariota's going to have a short leash, maybe like 5-6 games. And if they start off terrible, they're like, all right, well, Kenny Pickett's the most ready to play in the NFL. Love his physical talents. You know, they complain about his hand size. I don't worry about that too much. Dude's 6'3", 220, freak athlete, 12-foot broad jump, almost a 34-inch vertical. And like we said a lot in his last year, I mean, he didn't have a lot of production before that, but his last year was just too elite to ignore. I mean, the guy had like 34 touchdowns, 7 picks, added a few more rushing touchdowns. He honestly should have won the Heisman, in my opinion. And quick correction, he had 42 touchdowns, Kenny Pickett did not. I'm looking at another season here. So yeah, that's pretty insane. Broke the Pitt career passing yardage record of Dan Marino. Dude threw for over 12,000 passing yards in a college.
When you break a Dan Marino record, you know you did something crazy.
Yeah, and this is a guy that a lot of people had like a third round grade on before this past year, but the NFL likes to overdraft their quarterbacks, especially if a team likes to think, this could be a franchise guy. I don't see Atlanta, waiting until next year to get, start their organization basically with another quarterback pick, even though next year is a better class. I think they
True.
will grab Kenny Pickett.
And I feel like to the Mariota point you made earlier, even if you run with Mariota for this season, I feel like his play style and Kenny Pickett's play style are similar enough to where you could plug and play either one into an offensive scheme.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Both guys similar physical talents, physical traits, big arms, mobile, and you could still have Mariota in that like a Raider like role where he comes in a few times on like a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and is just like, all right, I'm gonna grab this ball and run it down your throat. But Kenny
True.
Pickett's strong as well. He can plow forward and do that also.
And in my opinion, a couple things Kenny needs to work on to really, make a mark in the NFL. He's a little nervous in the pocket. He scrambles early. He needs to speed up his release a little bit. I recommend he learns to throw the ball away a little bit more instead of taking sack. Lead his throws a little more. And his form needs to get more consistent. I know form isn't everything, but you got to have some consistency.
Yeah, that's all valid, especially that first point you made there. We're going to move on to number 7. At number 7, we got the New York Giants, and there's a lot of needs here for this team. A lot of needs, but this is one of those. We're going to take the best player on the board. So number 7, the Giants are going to take Kyle Hamilton, the safety from Notre Dame. This guy, he's the only other guy in the secondary who, aside from Sauce Gardner, who's graded at least a 90 from Next Gen Stats.
He's a freak.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's like one of the top 3 graded prospects, actually. I mean, the dude's 6'4", 220, ran a 4.59, has a 38-inch vertical. I hear a lot of Cam Chancellor comparisons, but I think he can be more of a... I'm not saying he's going to be Ed Reed, but that's what I envision what this guy can play like. You can play down in the box, stop the run. You can play over the top, single high coverage, patrol the middle of the field, play your running backs, play your tight ends, just can really do it all.
I think where he's going to make a name for himself is guarding those elite tight ends like Travis Kelce, George Kittle. He's going to guard them in a game and just neutralize them, and then the rest of the league is going to take notice. Like you said also, he's great in run support. 6'4", 220, that's practically another linebacker coming down.
Exactly. It's his coverage skills really at that size that are impressive, because his feet, he moves like a smaller safety, like a Honey Badger or like a Earl Thomas. Reminds me of Derwin James in that aspect.
Yeah, he has great change of direction for somebody who's 6'4".
Yeah, and the combine, the speed, obviously you want to run a little faster, but like we said earlier, I'm just gonna take the tape to my bank, And this guy was clearly elite in college at a powerhouse like Notre Dame. Probably one of the 5 players in this draft where I'm like, okay, his first year, he's easily probably gonna be a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, to me, he's the one guy I'm confident in. He could in the NFC, if he does get drafted to the Giants, I think he could be a Pro Bowl safety.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. At number 6, we got the Carolina Panthers, and I have them taking Malik Willis here. Earlier in the mock draft season, Malik Willis was, all right, maybe he's going to fall to the Steelers. Didn't really have a first-round grade, but after the combine, after the pro day, this guy just completely exploded. Perfect comp is clearly Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's big. Malik Willis, he's around 6'1", 220, ran in the 4.4s, but it's his huge arm and the release that really impressed me, because at the combine, he was throwing these 70-yard flick of the wrist type of passes that were just perfectly arched trajectory, similar to like Aaron Rodgers deep balls, where it's like they almost hit the ceiling of the stadium and they just drop perfectly in the hands of the receiver. Love his placement. Yeah,
he really showed out pro day combine, and he also, like we say, the film, he's got all the film to back it up too. I know he played it at Liberty, he's not playing the best competition, but he looks good. It's the situation where if you draft him and he's bad, everyone's gonna say, "Oh, why'd you draft him so early?" But if you don't draft him and he balls out, you're gonna hate yourself for the next 10 years.
And even then, I mean, the Panthers still have Sam Darnold. He can, Malik Willis can sit for a year until they get better on offense. But I mean, just think about this: when the Buffalo Bills drafted Josh Allen, what was that, like 10th or 11th, whatever it was, after his first year, people were like, "Oh, this guy's a bust." Then they
Facts.
did offensive coach for him, and it's like, okay, now all these physical tools that made us, draft him really high are showcasing here. He just had to become a more polished passer, and now, I mean, we got Josh Allen as an S tier quarterback, top 4, top 5 quarterback. Malik Willis can easily go a similar route. Small school guy. Josh Allen played at Wyoming. I just don't. I mean, I love seeing level of comp on tape. Like, it matters to me.
Yeah.
But when is this athletic and this skill, it's just like you could take a chance on this pick,
I don't know if they're still keeping McCaffrey. Like, there was rumors they were gonna trade him, but so I don't know what's happening with that. But at Liberty, he was great with the mesh point on the RPOs.
Yeah, I'd imagine I did see some reports about that with McCaffrey potentially being traded, but just because of the fat contract they gave him, McCaffrey's still young. He's still like a receiving back. Just don't give him like 30 touches a game, and they'll be fine in my opinion.
True. Him, McCaffrey, and then get him one elite wide receiver. They can really be a problem.
Yeah, because I like DJ Moore, but I don't see him as a bona fide number 1 receiver. He would be a really, really, really good number 2. So if Carolina had more picks and they were able to take a wide receiver in this draft as well, I would really like this Carolina team immediately. But because of the lack of picks, I'm gonna have to give him a year. Now we're moving on to the top 5 here.
Bow, 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 bow.
Coming in at number 5, I got the Giants taking Ike Ekwonu. This guy, a lot of people said maybe he could be left tackle 1 because Evan Neal didn't really participate at the combine, and Icky just had a great combine. I mean, he's got a highlight reel of just violent run blocking. The pass protection has been rough, and that might continue for the first couple years, but we've seen like a lot of 4th and 5th round guys taken by the Patriots and turning into studs. And I mean, this guy's as great of a talent at left tackle in a draft that you can possibly have,
Facts.
And the Giants, we've seen them. I mean, I like Andrew Thomas as a pass blocker at left tackle, but maybe they can move him now at right tackle. Nate Soldier's not on the roster anymore. So move Andrew to right tackle. That would help him a lot at his pass protection. Plug in Icky at left tackle, and now the Giants have a chance.
Facts. And Icky, on the little research I've done on him, it seems like he's a great locker room guy. All his teammates love him, and that's something, you need guys like that in the locker room.
Especially like a left tackle, I mean, that's a quarterback's best friend right there. And
For
any
sure.
quarterback has like a bad game or something, the left tackle, the captain of that O-line, could be like, all right, let's settle down now, guys. It's like it's all of our fault. It's not just the quarterback. Can really
True.
rally the team around together.
Facts. And I think also because he's a quick guy, for his size. He's 6'4", 310, but he runs a 4.9. So
Yeah,
he's gonna be lethal on screens.
Yeah, on those when he, on the pull blocks, especially when he's like looping around and the other O-line crashes to the right. You can just
Facts.
give it to a running back, have him bump out left on the left side. Nicky can literally block like 1 or 2 guys. He has that type of quickness and strength.
You got Saquon tucking behind Icky. It's gonna be a rough day for that first guy.
Yeah, just literally have Saquon hide behind it. That's what I would do. Literally, Saquon, just follow fucking Icky. We're getting a guaranteed 6-7 yards here.
The one thing Icky needs to improve on, I would say, his pass protection needed work. I didn't dive in all the film, but all the breakdowns I seen said that was his one area he was kind of in. But that'll come with NFL coaching.
Right. It's similar to what we were saying about Cross, about once he gets his hands on you, you're not really going to go around him. It's only those like quick feet speed guys that can beat him, but that can all be helped by like, your pass blocking scheme and shit like that. We're going to move on to, in my opinion, the best left tackle in this draft at number 4. I have the New York Jets selecting Evan Neal from Alabama.
Bum.
I've seen a lot of mocks that have Jets taking like Sauce Gardner here or Kyle Hamilton just because their biggest need is secondary. On the O-line, they do have Mekhi Becton already at left tackle, and I think they still have Morgan Moses, so it's not the biggest need. This is just a case of You got the best player on the board at 4, take him. Like, at worst case, Mekhi Becton, he's like 6'6", 340, 350. Move him as a guard because the Jets' interior line is absolutely awful. Plug and play Evan Neal right away. And like we were saying, with the past couple tackles, this guy is an absolute mountain. 6'7", 340. He puts his hands on you. You're not getting away from him.
Sheesh.
Slow feet, I'm kind of concerned about that. The injury, kind of concerned about that. But overall, he's just so well-rounded in both run and pass blocking. Could argue the best left tackle prospect in the last couple of years, honestly.
The biggest thing you can say about this guy is he started at left tackle the last 3 years for Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama.
You don't start
pass rushers.
You don't start at Alabama on the O-line if you're soft.
Especially coming in too, because Alabama always has a great O-line, so it's like he has to beat out these
elite guys.
Good guys, yeah.
Yeah, he's beating out other NFL players, basically, is what he's doing.
Yeah, he really is. I can't wait to see that guy, and that's why I just the Jets need to take him. Like, I know they need receiver, corner, but give Zach Wilson some time. I mean, there's a reason Zach Wilson's being compared to Rodgers. He has a great physical talent, cannon arm, can run. Give that man some time. Him and Corey Davis can be a great connection in this league.
Oh, let me get number 3 right here. Let me get it.
You're at number 3 right
here.
Yeah,
my boy. All right, at number 3, we've got the Mighty Duck, Kayvon Thibodeau.
And a guy that you could argue maybe was outside of Justin Herbert the best Oregon player overall the last few years.
Oh, yeah, last few years. I was about to go in about Mariota, but you're good. I think him and Herbert are the 2 greatest players in Oregon in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got him at, like second basically to only Herbert. We're talking about a guy 6'4", 260, runs in the 4.5s, which is absolutely insane. He benched 27 times, so he's got the strength. And this was a guy before Hutchinson had his crazy season this past year. He was going to be the first edge rusher taken off the board. Very similar type to Jadeveon Clowney. That's who I probably would compare him to.
I agree with that.
Stop the run. He got extremely long arms, so even if he is blocked, he can just reach out one of those arms and with his strength yank down a running back.
And he knows how to use those long arms in the rush too. He's real good at punching and extending to create space with them long-ass arms.
Yeah, I mean, this guy as a freshman had 14 tackles for loss and 9 sacks. He's the complete package. If he didn't get injured, probably would have had a similar season to Aiden Hutchinson had last year. But I mean, he's a first-team all-conference selection. He had 7 sacks in his last year here with Oregon. I think we had Houston taking Devin Lloyd at 13. They take Kayvon Thibodeau here. That defense is, even if the secondary is not good, you have speed, you have pass rush on that defense that can make up for it. Great run stopping. They can do it all. It's going to be a very, very deadly defense right away.
It's going to be a young defense that's skilled, and they're just going to be flying around out there.
Yeah, and a lot of people at Kayvon Thibodeau falling out of the top 3, top 5 even in some mocks I've seen, but the talent and the upside is there. You got to take him at 3 if he's there, and I think he will be. Speaking of a guy who was overlooked for a while here until he started just shooting up the boards in mock drafts. Number 2, Detroit Lions. I got them taking Trayvon Walker. Now, once again, of course, the Lions are probably going to trade out of this, get a few more picks. They have a lot of needs. But the Lions, they signed Trey Flowers a few years ago from the Patriots. It didn't work out as well because he was injured. This guy reminds me a lot of Trey Flowers. He's 6'5", 275. He can play inside, outside as a 4-3 defensive end. He can play outside linebacker. I mean, he ran a 4.5 vertical jump of 36 inches, 12.5-foot broad jump. Absolute freak. I mean, the guy is a mad lad. He was a freshman all SEC team. He was mainly known as a run stopper. I think it's just more of the talent and the speed that it's like, you know what, we can turn him into a great pass rusher.
He's very good at using his hands, that initial impact to create space when he's blitzing. His length makes him very difficult to block.
He has a great understanding of how to impact his leverage, how to use leverage to beat guys who are stronger than him.
True, his body control is elite.
But the number one reason I have Detroit taking him?
Why is that?
He just seems like an MCDC guy.
Oh, he does seem like an MCDC guy, bro.
MCDC to me is I want a defensive guy who can play literally anything from interior D lineman to safety. Trayvon Walker, put him anywhere in the front seven. The dude's gonna fucking excel.
I got a call from MCDC the other day.
Yeah,
I
what am my
said,
boy?
yo, DC, what up? He said, hey, Jonah, I need warriors for my team. Do you know any? I said, yeah, this boy Trayvon Walker. He said, all right, we're going to take him at 2.
He's like, you know what? I trust your word. We need these hard-nosed guys. We need these guys who are gonna break some kneecaps for me. You know, they're gonna take that quarterback. They're gonna plow him to the ground. They're gonna break his skull. That's what I need.
And then he ended the phone call with a thank you, brother. And then he hung up. And at number 1, we have the University of Michigan standout, Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, I agree here. Aiden Hutchinson is definitely the bona fide number 1 pick, although some people have been debating whether, it's going to be him, Evan Neal, Trayvon Walker, but for me, he's definitely number 1. We're talking about a guy who's 6'7", 270, freakish athlete, ran 4.7 at the combine. It's the tape, though, that impresses me the most. Double-digit sacks back-to-back at Michigan, and they're playing powerhouse O-lines like Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State, Minnesota, all that good jazz. So he's got the level of comp to back him up, and he can play any position, really. Outside linebacker in a 3-4, throw him inside in a 3-4. Throw him at his natural spot, defensive end, in a 4-3, which is what I think he'll be playing across from Josh Allen.
Like you said, the film says everything, but he has those attributes that make a star. He's a grinder in the weight room. He's a grinder on the field. He loves watching tape. He has such a bag of moves.
He does, and it's the motor for me that's just absolutely relentless. You can compare it to... A lot of people compare him to Trey Hendrickson. I don't think Trey Hendrickson has the motor of this kid. I say more of like a Joey Bosa or J.J. Watt, where he's going to come in and play all 3 downs, potentially 4 downs, right away in this league.
He's definitely going to be a big impact player this first year.
Yeah, best prospect in the draft. I don't know what the odds are going to be over under for sacks, but if they're like 11 and a half, I am nailing the over on that one. I think he's going to have a star rookie season, get anywhere from 12, 13, maybe even 14 sacks.
Yeah, the sky's really the limit for Aiden this year. Hopefully the situation in Jacksonville is better than that Urban Meyer bullshit that happened last year.
Oh, any coach coming in to replace Urban Meyer's got to be better than what they were last year.
Let's hope
Yeah.
Aiden can turn it around in Clowntown.
Let's do it, Aiden. If you've been watching up until this far, if you've gone through all our picks, let us know how we did. It might not be the most accurate mock draft, but we've been working on this for a while.
Thank you guys for watching. This has been another Face First Podcast production. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.